I attended Friday prayer service, and the first person I ran into was a Trump voter, Middle Eastern descent. I didn't run into a lot more Trump voters in the mosque, but I found a few, and I remember the guy who voted, first gentleman who ran into me, Middle Eastern descent, at the mosque, who'd been in Youngstown for 30 years. He's like, yeah, I voted for Trump. He's like, look, I'm not dumb. This town is falling apart. We need a change.
Now, we're seeing a bunch of liberals looking with, I don't want to say glee, at the prospect of Trump voters being denied their health insurance, and losing the legal services corporation that may have saved them from foreclosure, and a real contempt for these people. They're getting what they deserve. They voted for Trump, now they're going to get kicked in the ass. What do you think of that reaction?
Look, I'm an old school liberal. I think you give everything context, and you never demean any group. If you demean any group especially a group that has less power than you do, less wealth than you do, less opportunity than you do, as deserving what they get of being dumb, anything added to this thing, lazy, dumb, weak, I think that's just absolutely the wrong way to go about it. You look at things in the context. You look at things in socioeconomic context, and you look at decisions made in socioeconomic context, and you certainly don't wish harm on any group in aggregate. I mean, that is deplorable to think that view, that any one group is deserving of ill health or deserving of a lesser life than you. I think that attitude, I don't want to assign too much importance to a few pundits who've taken that view, but I think that attitude, certainly is symbolic of a lot of less extreme attitudes amongst what I would call the liberal elite and the conservative elite as well, of the sense that voters are beneath them, and voters are uninformed and don't deserve their smart policies, and it's a detachment between the realities of the working class life and policy that I think has doomed a lot of the Democratic Party to electoral losses. If you're really kind of gleeful, people dying of heroin addiction, then I think you just need to really take a step back and ask, why are you doing this as either a pundit or a politician, and reassess your values.
A lot of Democrats explain Trump vote by saying they're all the deplorables. They're all just a bunch of hateful racists and xenophobes. What about the racism and xenophobia? How much of that did you hear? How deep did it run? How hostile was it?
I grew up in a small southern town that was divided by a railroad track in the 60s and 70s. NAACP meetings were held in my house because churches were scared of being burned down at the time. When my father's car was, while my father was in it, was shot at because of his views on civil rights. I've been at the fringes of a lot of ugly stuff, nothing compared to what minorities in my town went through, nothing at all compared to what they faced. I'm not in denial that there's a lot of ugly racist politics in our country, and that the GOP has embraced those tactics to get where it is these days. But I also don't think that simply looking at racism and assigning privilege and white privilege to every white person and every, especially working class, is either fair or good politics. I think there's a big difference between racism and unacknowledged privilege. White working class comes with a lot of unacknowledged privilege that allows them to overlook ugly policies, just like me not being Yemeni allows me to overlook Obama's drone policies when I voted for Obama. So I think there's a big difference between outright bigotry and racism and unacknowledged white privilege. And I think you can address the unacknowledged white privilege without yelling racism. And I think doing so is more realistic and more true, and also I think far better politically in terms of having a chance to bring an economic message into these communities.
Have you had the chance to talk many Trump voters since he staffed his administration with pretty traditional conservatives in some areas, and Goldman Sachs alums, even more than I think Bush and Obama combined. Do they feel any sense of betrayal, or is it too soon to tell?
Where they feel the betrayal is on the healthcare. I think we, myself, you, people on Twitter and the media tend to forget how much we focus on politics and how little other people focus on politics. Look, people's lives are more complicated than ours. Often they got a lot of things going on, and caring about what the presidential spokesman says on day 2 or on Tuesday is not one of those. But healthcare is something that is visceral and a real issue. And where I've heard the first signs of people looking at Trump and maybe realizing they got scammed, look, I believe they got scammed, is on healthcare, where I think these are real changes and these are real policy changes that will impact their lives, their families' lives, their congregants' lives, people in their communities' lives, and in a negative way. I think you have to. I think Trump is making a massive political mistake on healthcare, not just because I disagree with his changes, but simply because I think if I was his political advisor, I would tell him, you're going to lose a lot of votes because of this.
Where could they go then? If you mentioned the sense that all the people who voted for Obama buying the Hope and Change, now they bought another version of Hope and Change. Where can they go next?
We'll see what the Democrats offer up in 2018, 2020. But really what they'll book, they just won't vote, right? They just won't go out. People forget that there's a third choice, which is not voting. And that third choice was exercised by a lot of Democrats, which is enough Democrats or enough independents, minorities, young, that it swung the election to Trump. And I think, if you were to replay the election today, Trump, I believe, would lose electorally as well as in the popular vote, because I think a lot of his voters just wouldn't vote. The additional turnout just wouldn't happen, and the turnout amongst the young and the minorities and the Democrat base would be supersized this time. So I think you would have had a popular vote and electoral vote win for Hillary if you were to rerun the election today.
And finally, you planning to put some more miles in the car?
Yeah, I'm going to do another. I got another 6 months traveling. Then I'm done. I'm actually just writing now about a black working class town that didn't vote for Trump, Gary, Indiana, where there's just as much despair, but there's not any Trump love. I'm doing a project on refugees, and then I'm going to the West Coast for 2 months of looking at communities on the West Coast, and then I'm done. Then I'll have 260,000 miles on my car, and if my car survives by then.
That was Chris Arnade, a former bond trader turned photographer and writer. You can find his reports in The Guardian. Arnade is how you spell his name.